Hello and welcome to the mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and this week we are talking about the big news, and that is the reveal of Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. Now, I'm going to apologize up front because there's a very good chance that I am going to use this video as a little bit of a vent session because I'll get to it when I get to it. But let's go ahead and start with the reveal day, right? Wednesday, February 2nd, Jamie. Wow, I'm doing so well so far. Jamie, on his Facebook Live, introduced us to the game, and he was very specific in the first day that he was just going to show the box and all the information that entailed. He gave us a little bit of information. I actually have the box right over my shoulder here, and he mentioned that it's the same size as regular Stonemaier games, and I would say that it probably most closely resembles, it's probably exactly the same as Wingspan. So right there, it plays 1 to 6 players, which I understand is pretty significant because the original did not have a solo mode, and the original, I guess if like me, before before I really got into this hobby, and even after I got into this hobby, until Jamie announced this game, I was only very vaguely familiar with Libertalia itself. As I mentioned, it didn't have a solo mode, and it didn't. And why did I even mention that? Because this is a re-implementation. This is not a reprint. We'll get to that in just a minute. It is a re-implementation. The meat and potatoes that you probably loved from the original Libertalia, if that is a title you're familiar with, is still there. The meat, it's all right there. But it's been, every little area of the game has been touched. Jamie told us on the Facebook Live that not only is there a solo mode, there's also a improved 2-player mode. Now, I understand that Libertalia is one of those games that is played best with more players. If you can get 5 or 6, like, that's where the game shines. As you know, Stonemaier wants the game to shine at all player counts. Now, of course, there's always going to be a little bit of opinion on whether or not they hit the mark on that, but they went in and introduced a solo mode and redid a 2-player mode to really kind of implement all the feedback that Libertalia, the original, had received through the how long it was alive. He also mentioned, and that he being Jamie, mentioned that the artist for this game was Lamaro Smith, and how receptive Paulo Mori was to the idea of this re-implementation, and we'll go into that here in one of the later design diaries. But as usual, as of late, all first runs will have a limited edition first run of 25,000, so your number will fall somewhere in there if you get a first edition. And if you sign up for a pre-order launch notification, and I'll put a link in the comments or the description of this video, if you sign up for that pre-launch notification, then for every person who does it, Jamie will donate $1 to Sea Shepherd, which is a charity that, I should have looked at it. It is an international direct action ocean conservation movement. So works on protecting marine wildlife. So that is certainly a worthwhile thing to send some money towards, and very, very much on on message or on theme with the game. The second design diary was where we start to really learn more about this reimplementation. Jamie on February 3rd talks about the island theme, loot tokens, and loot tiles. Now, the original Libertalia had cardboard loot tokens, and I guess they were one-sided, so they were public knowledge when you were choosing them, but once they became your loot, they were flipped over as hidden information. But ultimately, if you're one of those really observant players, it didn't matter. You already knew what other people had, and you can see what's available next. So the loot tokens were upgraded with these really colorful, I call them forbidden starbursts, because they look like starburst candies. They look like Azul tiles, if you're familiar with that. But very colorful, which in my opinion, stands in kind of stark contrast to what we had with the original Libertalia, which was a very traditional pirate theme, which beautiful artwork, but very brown. And I mean, that's on theme, right? They're on ships, they're at sea. A lot of brown on a ship, a wooden galleon, so to speak. So, on very much on in theme, but the reimagining of this, Lamaro, what he did, and the color that he brought to it, and the color that Jamie then brought to the loot tokens, very cool. Now, one of the things that Jamie mentioned is the original Libertalia is pretty cutthroat. It is very much a game where you're kind of trying to stick it to the other pirates, right? So that you win the game, that you're the most cunning pirate. Now, this game is one where, take that is not really a Stonemaier thing. However, that is in the DNA of this game. So how do you address that? Well, it's addressed with these loot tiles. And Jamie mentions there's calm loot tiles, and there's stormy loot tiles. And I think on BGG he mentioned that the calm tiles are printed right on the board, and yet we also see in the pictures that were shared from Tim Chuan, who, again, just amazing photographer. We see, some of these abilities on these tiles are, we see a relic, we see a amulet, we can see a map, and, the relic is lose 3. Now, hard to tell whether or not that is a stormy tile or a calm tile, but in any event, Jamie had mentioned that with the calm side, it's a little friendlier. You're still doing piratey things, but it's less take that. And he mentioned that the stormy side is maybe even more devious and cutthroat than the original. And so people that liked that about the original are probably really gonna dig an even meaner game. And then there's this Uncharted mode where you can have a combination of calm and stormy, and either you probably have the ability to randomize, or maybe you like a stormy game but one loot tile in particular is just too mean. It always sticks in someone's craw. It always feels wrong. You have the ability to play all stormy except for that one, maybe calm. So it really is cool that, either you can randomize it and you get the kind of game you get, all the different, I guess, all the different ways that you can play that with the combinations of stormy and calm. But also that you can really customize it and make it as friendly as you like, within reason, I think, and as mean as you want, again, within reason. But if you liked the meanness in the original, it's still there, and maybe more so in this reimagining of Libertalia. So in this design diary, we see a lot of pictures, and I don't know what happened there, but we see that Jamie mentioned that he really likes drawing tiles out of a bag, which, never mind that that's going to leave me completely at a loss for what Codename Draw could be later this year, but here we are. Maybe we have 2 bag build, or things drawn out of a bag. It seems unlikely, but I guess we'll see. And so that was kind of like the idea for February 3rd. And then on February 4th, which is the day I'm filming, so I won't have anything from Saturday's design diaries. I probably could have reached out to Jamie to get a preview to talk about, but I want to be respectful of his time as he's going through the grief process of his dad. So I just wanted to stay as hands off as possible there. So day 4 or February 4th, Jamie talks about the fact that one of the things that they did was expand upon how many characters were in the game. There was originally 30 characters in Libertalia. There's 40 now, with all of the characters that were in the original returning with some tweaks. I believe it was mentioned in the original there was a freed slave, and in this implementation, Jamie didn't want any he didn't want slavery in this world of Galecrest. So in this one, it is a freed prisoner, but otherwise all of the abilities that were on those cards got revisited and tweaked in some way. So I would imagine keeping, kind of the feel of the original, but I can't confirm that. And then obviously 10 brand new ones. Another thing mentioned was Jamie said that when they looked at the original Libertalia, it skewed very male. I think he said that there was mostly male pirates and maybe one female pirate, and then there was this monkey I keep hearing about, and I have not played the original Libertalia. I need to hop on Board Game Arena and give that a shot because people really dislike this monkey, and I have to learn what that's about. But getting back to the February 4th design diary, Jamie talked about really, really loving Libertalia, and every time that he would talk about it, other people were like, oh man, I wish that game had come back. It's out of print. I can't get it. Why don't you guys see if you can get it? And he finally reached out, found out, to who he thought had the rights. They said, no, it's been returned to Paulo. And so Jamie went to Paulo, and Paulo actually has has a write-up in the design diary on February 4th, which I'll put a link to those in the description too, because it's kind of cool hearing the original designer and his take on it. That at the end of 2020, Jamie had reached out with this idea that was actually brought about by the fans and people saying, hey, you should see if you can get the rights. And Jamie liking the title enough, and Paulo saying, over the years that people had approached him for redoing Libertalia, and either the rights weren't his at the time, or the project and what the people were working on didn't feel right or sound right. But when Stonemaier approached, he knows the reputation and how premium and the care they put into their products, and how just that care was something that he wanted to see done to this game that he really loved. And Jamie, really in the live stream too, kind of just really talks about how awesome it was to work with Paulo, and how very little ego was involved, and how eager he was to look into every little aspect of the game and pour over all of the feedback, and how to address concerns that were in the original. One of the things I've heard mentioned time and again about the original is the tiebreaker was not great in the original. I think someone told me if you have the right deck of cards, you're in luck. And so that was something they wanted to revisit. Jamie hasn't talked about what that looks like yet, unless he did it on February 5th. But he mentions a reputation system, and that reputation system tying into that tiebreaker, that's how ties will be broken. So something that, like I said, I've seen in the Libertalia forums over and over, talked about that tiebreaker, and that being one of the things that people wished was a little different, has been addressed. This is something that that as I've done my research in between the original Libertalia, and we're kind of reading through those forums, and then once the BGG forums popped up for Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, it's been... Let me say this first. Fans of the original Libertalia, a passionate bunch. They love what Paulo created, and you have to imagine that that's exactly what appealed to Jamie. They are some of them. Let me start by saying this is not by any stretch of the imagination all original Libertalia fans, or even most, because obviously most board gamers aren't on BGG. But there was a lot of consternation almost immediately. Jamie had only revealed the box on Wednesday, and Board Game Geek, some people had already drawn so many conclusions. Libertalia has been ruined and turned into a family game. All on the box art. That this was a Disney-fication of the box art, which is a little bit ironic considering I thought the box art for the original looked like a unbranded Pirates of the Caribbean Disney movie take. So one of the pirates on the cover of that box actually looks exactly like one of the pirates from the movie, which I don't know if it was intentional or not, but like, so it was weird to see the Disney-fication, but there's been a lot of assumption drawn just based on the art that was provided, or that was created by Lamaro, and some of it has been just disrespectful. It's I feel so bad for my friends on Facebook that have had to hear me bellyache about this for a few days now. No issue, as far as I'm concerned, no issue at all with not liking the art direction. You may have a very different idea of what Libertalia should look like. However, it's one thing to say that you're not a fan of the direction. It's another thing to make all of these wild comments like, this person has ruined the game, or this looks like it was drawn by, kids, or that this was made for like the Disney kids crowd. And even though like it got worse than that, and if you end up going out to the forums, you'll see stuff has been, I mean, they've had to moderate these, for crying out loud, to like actually remove people's comments about the art, about the talent of the artist, which is so unfortunate. I mean, there's no question that the artist behind the original Libertalia, super talented. The level of detail there, Lamaro is providing a different take on that, and Jamie saw the kind of work Lamaro did and thought that this is the look that he wanted for Winds of Galecrest. And I think that's a good thing. I think ultimately, I want to get frustrated and angry because I'm protective of my friend, but also protective of the artist who, does tremendous work, and yet it wasn't what people were expecting or hoping for. And so in essence, I think it really boils down to the fact that they're just disappointed. Some people legitimately wanted just to take the original files, hit reprint, and if you did revisit it, to address some mechanics or something that wasn't working, that you had somebody whose job was to imitate the art of the original product. Or I understand that there was also, I don't know if it was an expansion or more like a promotion or a promo pack that had more pirates, or what the deal was, but people had either caught wind that there was more content created that hit the cutting room floor. Now, being unfamiliar with the original product, I couldn't tell you if that was something that was then wrapped into Winds of Galecrest. Now, if the 10 additional pirates, if it was a pirate promo pack, then maybe those pirates got pulled in. But in any case, it doesn't look how they were expecting it to look. And there's some that like really have this romantic ideal of pirates, and they want that romanticized version, presented. There's some people that had issues with the animals being pirates, which somehow got conflated or twisted to say that they were furries, which no, that's not what this is. And so it's been a little bit difficult to sit at BGG and look at this title that I just think looks beautiful. I think Lamaro did an amazing job with this art, and to see people like make all of these different assumptions based on at first just the cover art, and then their assumptions were adjusted when the loot tokens were presented, and then the more assumptions made when some of the card art was revealed. Listen, Libertalia Winds of Galecrest is not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for everyone who loved Libertalia, the original version. It's not going to be for everyone who didn't like Libertalia, the original version, and wanted a friendlier version of it. It's not. No game is for everybody, and that's 100% fine. Me personally, I don't understand going into a forum where maybe people are excited about this thing and just kind of poo-pooing all over their fun. I mean, it seems, I understand you want some kind of discourse, you want to talk, but if you want to come in and say, hey, I don't see the merits of this, there's a way to present it that invite discussion, and there's a way to inject your opinion in a way that is only meant to sow discord and incite, antagonize people. So I guess my request to you is this: if this is not for you, and you have an issue with the art, but you want to talk about it, because, hey, talking about board games is still a hell of a lot better than talking about COVID or politics or whatever the heck else we got going on in the world at any given moment. Just let's try and remember that there is a person behind the art, and be respectful of each other and those differing opinions. And believe me, I struggle with this as much as anyone, if not more so. Thanks, Dad, for the temper. But that is what Jamie basically revealed this week. I look forward to being able to tell you more and about my experiences. What I have planned for the mill and the coverage for Libertalia Winds of Galecrest is, I believe, next week. I'm going to have to check to confirm. It's either next week or the week after. I am going to have the unboxing first, followed by the next weekend episode of the mill will be a solo playthrough of Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, and then the next video I have planned is a how to solo video. It may seem a little backwards, however, the last time I did it in the order of how to solo and then waited and did a solo playthrough, there were some folks that were like, how to solo doesn't really make sense without the stuff in front of me, and so it's a little bit harder to follow. So I thought, let's go ahead and switch it up this time, see if, because even when I'm playing the solo mode, kind of talking through it, explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think ultimately that might be of more value to people, to see if that type of how I'm playing the game, if it seems like something that would be interesting to them. In absolutely any case, all of those videos should be up in advance of the order date, which is first week in March. Jamie did announce it, and let's see if I can find it real quick. March 2nd is when it is scheduled to go on pre-order. I guess this is as good a time as any to say there's one more, I guess, deluxeification option for the game that Jamie's going to talk about at some point. We don't know what that is yet. A lot of people seem to be thinking that it could be upgrade metal coins for the game. I know that this was made to be attractive for not just board gamers, but for a retail audience. I don't know if that means that there's a possibility that this could make it to Target like Wingspan and Red Rising have, but we shall see. Also, another product that is going to be possibly available, it's already been made, it's already been printed, There may also, at the same time, be available the Libertalia Winds of Galecrest Rolling Realms promo pack. So if you're collecting all those like I am, and you have the two promo packs that have been announced so far, there's another one coming with Libertalia, as Jamie has mentioned. He'll continue to expand on Rolling Realms as new Stonemaier games become available. And I think that's probably enough talking from me today. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. If it's about Libertalia Winds of Galecrest itself, then of course I can only say what I can say up until the date that we're allowed to talk about our experiences, and then reviews come out a couple days later. But I'll do the best. I'll go ahead and talk about anything that Jamie's already talked about, and that is all I have for you this week. I guess I was going to mention that I picked up a few new shirts. I got this one here from MeepleSource, and I just thought as I pick up board game shirts that I would go ahead and share where I got them. I got a few of them from MeepleSource, and I will go ahead and post a link to it in case you are like, hey man, cool Wingspan shirt, where do I get my own? You can go and get your own. Now I think I've officially said everything I'm going to say. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching.